Hello everybody. I'm doing a little cooking video for you today. Something different. I guess I can do an update too. I weighed in this morning at 175.5, so that's down another, I don't know, 0.8 or something pounds from last week, so getting pretty low. My calories have been like 3,000, 3,200, maybe 3,300, depending on the day. So yeah, another week or two, like I said last week, and I'll be back on the gain train. But for now, I'm going to make some treats, sort of healthy treats. Black bean brownies. This is something I've talked about before, and if you're on my Facebook, I've probably posted about it a few times and shared the recipe, but I thought I'd give you a new demo of what I'm doing. So, first of all, I haven't showered yet, so I'm looking pretty glamorous. You can see all the mess above my fridge there in the picture, so you know, bear with me. But and I'll post the recipe down below, as well as the link to the original recipe and video. It's actually Sarah Smalling did a video many months ago with the black bean brownies, and I sort of took that recipe and I modified it and added protein and and I ended up coming up with this recipe, which works out pretty good. It makes like really large brownies that are like 200 calories, 20 grams of protein, and like, I don't know, 12 grams of fiber per thing, and that's for like, it's like a cake-sized piece of brownie, so that's a pretty big piece. But you know, those stats are on par with like, you know, Quest protein bars, but you get a lot more healthy ingredients as well. They do have real sugar, and they do have vitafiber in them, which maybe isn't accessible for everybody, but c'est la vie, right? Alright, let's get started. First, the most important ingredient, I don't know if you can see this, but black beans. Just one can, one 19-ounce can, which is 540 milliliters. You rinse it, and yeah, that's the start. So, I've got those here. I don't know if you can see my little strainer here. And I'm going to put those into the blender. Alright, so we've got that. And into that, we're going to put one of these little cups of applesauce, just to give it some moisture. Really simple recipe. I have my oven at, let me see, I think it's at 325. I think it takes about 20 minutes, but you got to check on it because it varies. Now the next important ingredient is coffee. This really helps cut the, you know, really disguise the taste of basically whatever you put in it. And I put 2 tablespoons. Okay. So that's coffee. And the next ingredient is some olive oil. This is just generic, cheap olive oil. If you're on a diet, 1 tablespoon is probably enough. But this is a source of calories for me too. So I'm going to put 2 tablespoons. You can put more. You can put this, I mean, the more oil you put in, the longer it's going to last before it dries out, right? So that's to keep in mind. And I've got some milk here. It's about 3/4 cup of milk. If you have some leftover coffee, I'd use that instead, just to give it some more coffeeness, which always is good. And the next important ingredient is eggs. And I put 3 eggs. Again, if you're on a diet, or you're trying to cut the calories, you can, you know, just put 2 eggs, or you can put, you know, 2 eggs and some egg whites, whatever you want, really. I mean, the more eggs you put, the more sort of cake-like it's going to end up. So, 3 eggs. So basically, I'm just mixing all my liquid ingredients and the coffee, which is obviously dry, but you mix that in so it moistens it all up and gets blended in really well. So that's it with the eggs. What else do I have? I got the cocoa. I got the... I'm coming back, don't worry. Milk. Okay, great. So yeah. So that's that. Now, I don't know if you notice in the image here, but my blender, I was paid a visit by Santa Claus. I guess me and Mama Rose both got the same gift, which is pretty cool. So I've got a really nice blender here, and I'm going to make use of it for sure. This is, obviously, you can do this just with any blender, really, or even like hand mixer, if that's what you have. But I wanted to give this a try. So, bear with me while I turn on this jet engine and blend this up. Making fast work of it, let me tell you that. I'm going to just turn everything. Oh wow, so much power. That's 2. That's 2 out of 3. Alright. So that is that. Now, for dry ingredients, again, I don't know if you can see, but I've got 4 scoops of just a vanilla protein powder. You can use natural, you can use chocolate, you can use coffee flavor, you can use basically whatever flavor you want. Peanut flavor probably work okay too. Whatever protein powder you have. So yeah, I've got 4.5 scoops of the protein powder, and then I've got 80 grams of cocoa. So that's your dry ingredients. Now for sweetener, this is where it becomes like, I'm actually using 80 grams of sugar, just regular table sugar, and vitafiber, which is my sort of secret ingredient. Now the vitafiber you can get now in the US and Canada. Actually, I think it actually comes from Canada, so it makes it all the easier. It's the same oligosacchar, whatever ingredient that you find in Quest bars. So it's a sweetener. It's not like super sweet, but gets the job done. And I am going to put, check my recipe here, 80 grams of vitafiber. So I've got my scale here with a bowl, and I'm just going to measure that out. I don't like to measure this up ahead of time because it tends to suck in some moisture from the air if you leave the bags in too much. So 50, 60. Almost there. I have a feeling this camera is like zoomed right into my face, so hi. Alright, 80 grams. The bag never closes up properly either. Oof. Now this has an odd smell as well, but don't be afraid of it, because again, with that coffee and all that cocoa, you're not going to smell or taste anything that you put in here. I actually, last time I made this, I actually used pumpkin seed protein for half the protein that I put in. So really, you can use whatever protein source you want. So, take that off. So that's all my dry ingredients, I believe. Oh, and nuts. I recommend that you use walnuts. I'm actually going to chop up some cashews and put them in. But 1 ounce, maybe 2 ounces, but 1 ounce is enough to give it, that taste and give it a little more texture. Just chop it up, however fine you want it. Or you can use like almond slivers or whatever you want, really. So yeah, that's the dry ingredients. I'm just going to mix that up with my spoon so it gets well mixed. Because like I said, when you put the liquid into that that vitafiber, it tends to clump up. So if you mix it well with your protein powder and cocoa and everything else, then it tends to not clump up as much. So yeah, so like I said, I've got my oven warmed up around 225. I've got my liquid mixture here. Now, I guess I could have poured the powder right into this fancy mixer here, but it's actually pretty voluminous, so I guess it probably would just fit, but I don't want to risk it. You don't need to mix it very much anyway, so since you've got the wet stuff all blended together, it's super easy. Make sure you get all that beany goodness out of here. And I'll put that over here by the sink. And I'm back. And again, you're just mixing this like it was a cake batter or whatever. It's going to be fairly thick, but still sort of pourable. If you've ever made a cake or brownies, you know what it's supposed to be like. So you may have to add some water. I mean, depending on your protein powder, really, because some protein powders tend to suck up the water more than others, right? I'm actually using not a pure isolate, it's actually a mix that I picked up at Costco, which is really the cheapest place to get protein powder, by the way. If you're not too picky about your protein powder, they've got a whey isolate there, which doesn't taste very good on its own, but if you're making, smoothies or something, it's great. So mix. And I just realized that I didn't do my cashews yet. So I'm going to get this going. And make some cashews. It looks like I'm going to have to edit this video too, because who wants to watch me run around the kitchen, right? So yeah, I'm going to go down to the bottom of the bag here where all the little crumbs are. And I'm just going to grab some. grams, 30 grams. We're gonna go for 40-ish grams. Oh, 44 went over, so we're gonna even it out, right? If you guys are like that when you weigh things, you look kind of even. 45 grams. And we got a little chopping board here. Transfer that to the chopping board. A giganto knife, and just chop those up roughly. Again, walnuts or almonds might have been better. I don't know if you can see in the background there, but I've got a huge jug of almonds as well. I actually prefer almonds to munch on than cashews, so when I'm cooking, you know, I want nuts in it, then cashews is a decent way to go. A little more fat in the cashew versus protein. That's why I like the almonds better. I don't want to make this like a meal or anything. I just want, you know, chunks. Again, walnuts is the way to go for making brownies, right? We all know that. Alright. vegetables are pretty well chopped. Again, with my fancy blender, I probably could have just thrown these in, but I wouldn't want to make it into a butter, you know? I want the chunks. It's that texture that I'm going for. So there we go. And I got my mixture here with a spoon that almost submerged. And I'm just going to throw the nuts in there. And that is pretty much it, guys. So now I have my mixture. Make sure you scrape along the sides and the bottom because you don't want any of that dry, protein powder sticking. And don't lick your fingers. Because you got raw eggs in there, right? But I will show you what it looks like. So doesn't that look yummy? And again, you can see this is pretty thick, lumpy thick, as you would want any sort of brownie to be. So I'm going to put that, and here I've got, I don't actually have like a baking square like for cake or whatever, so I'm just using a pie plate, which makes it round, which is kind of weird for brownies, but whatever. And I've got a piece of parchment paper here, and I've sprayed coconut oil. Let's see, this stuff, which I also picked up at Costco, really cheap, just a coconut oil spray. And I've sprayed that there and on top of this, and I'm just gonna dump that in there, make sure it's all evenly spread around, and then cook it for my 20 minutes or so. So I'll stick a picture in at the end here of what it looks like after, because it's got to cool down and all that stuff, so I'm not going to wait for that. And yeah, I hope everyone is doing well, getting out there, getting your fitness in. It's a rest day for me, which means I'll probably just hop on the treadmill and that'll be it. And yeah, get out there and be strong, guys. Bye.